I thought I'd just today go for a bit of a drive. The sun's out and have a bit of a chat about some stuff that's topical again today. That's apart from the main political stuff. I suppose it sort of touches on politics, but there's a summit going on at the moment. Some of you may or may not be aware of in Paris, and it's all about artificial intelligence. So, which is obviously a hot topic at the moment, and a lot of people are talking about it. And so it got me thinking: what is artificial intelligence? Is there actually like a set definition of it? And what sort of things in our day-to-day life sort of already are, artificially intelligent? And so then I was just thinking, you know what, we're already sort of pretty much living with it. And there's a really good example of some of the benefits potentially down the road here. So I thought, look, you know what, I'm just going to go for a drive today. I've got some spare time, have a bit of a chat to you guys, and then show you something that, may benefit humanity, that it's artificial intelligence based, but obviously there's a lot of hesitation and potential downsides as well to it. So we're just cruising along in LA at the moment, and I'm going to head down to grab something to eat first. I think that's going to be a bit of a priority. Let's get some food, and then we'll have a bit of a chat. But yeah, so artificial intelligence, I just did a little bit of research. A definition of Oxford is basically saying anything that is computer generated that is performing the functions of a human. So yeah, sorry, getting back to that definition, just cruising along with a camera in your face is probably not the best look when you've got the local LAPD in front of you. So, but I can flip around and show you that they're definitely there in the car in front. But LA's pretty relaxed, and hopefully they don't really care. I'm going to go past them now, but I'll just let them go through. As you may or may not be able to see, the bumper on the front of that cop car is actually hanging off a bit, so it's probably had a bit of bump and scrape. And this street here has got a big scratch point here, so you probably heard that bump. So you've got to go super slow. Anyway, we're in LA, and we're just on the left-hand side here is where the actual runways are for the northern end runways of LAX. And this road is now heading towards the water. We're going to go to a place called Playa del Rey, and I'll pull up on a coffee shop. It's actually the same coffee shop that's... the cafe is owned by a fellow called Petros, and I've already done a bit of an interview with this fellow. He owns a restaurant, a winery, and a few other things. So I haven't published it yet, but I will get onto that the next sort of week or so. So we'll head to the cafe that he owns and get something to eat, get a coffee, keep having a bit of a chat about this artificial intelligence summit and how it impacts people. But anyway, so getting back to that topic, artificial intelligence is something defined where human perception is required. So sight, recognition, all those sort of things, and potential touch, etc., that a computer can emulate, replace, and So I actually was under the impression that artificial intelligence was about computers learning on their own, which I'm assuming that's part of it, obviously, but the topical sort of stuff that everyone's talking about now. But yes, it's more just replicating the human function. So I'm not sure what's going on at the moment. We've got a cop car on the left and another one in front as we're cruising along, and a detective's car on the right-hand side. But anyway, so something may be happening locally down here. LA, there's always something going on. The sun's out in true form. You won't be able to see, but there's a American Embraer taking off on the left-hand side. Not sure if the camera will pick that up. So yeah, anyway, so we'll just get back to what we're discussing, that artificial intelligence. Anyway, it got me thinking that there's a lot of things like we have in artificial intelligence nowadays that are, and what would be the original sort of artificial intelligence? I was actually just thinking, what about an oven where you set a timer and then it turns itself off, or obviously a microwave that has some sort of function that's emulating what a human would do. Once it gets to a certain time, I guess it turns something off. Now you look at what they've got, the capabilities today with, artificial intelligence now. It's going leaps and bounds with things like that Chat GPT. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at that stuff, but you can just type in a couple of sentences and of a request of what you want it to do and produce, and it will just spit out pages of information. You can tell it to make it longer, shorter, fix up these sort of parts of it. And it is now emulating that and proofreading things and fixing them up. And if you wanted to fact check something, it will do that for you. So that's all what artificial intelligence sort of is. And they're having a summit at the moment in Paris. And I saw that the vice president of the US is over there at the moment talking to the all these different European presidents and obviously stakeholders in that computer and artificial intelligence game. And talking about how it relates to free speech and the benefits. And I suppose the Americans seem to be coming from the perspective, look, we want to tap into it, not be afraid of it, and embrace it for what it can actually do and what it can achieve. Without, I don't think there was any specifics on what they were talking about, but yeah, it just got me thinking as well, just in my day to day, all of these sort of things that artificially, what are we using and what are the benefits of it? And obviously, even the car I'm driving now, if I just flip this around, it's giving me a warning. It's telling me, I don't know if you can see there, but it's telling me that one of your tires is not at the correct pressure. And that's obviously a sensor that's emulating, something artificially to say, look, that tire pressure isn't right. Pump that tire up. So there is a lot of these little things that are have already been in existence for a long time. But now I think at the moment there's all these computers that are quantum sort of speeds that are able to process information in such a fast fashion that it's sort of scaring people as to what it can and can't do. And I think, even something like this, if I touch that screen here, double tap on the camera that I'm using now I've got face tracking enabled. So if I move my head this way or that way, as you can see, it's tracking me now and following me. And that's artificially recognizing probably the oval shape of a person's head and tracking them around. And that's where it becomes potentially scary, because you're thinking, well, okay, if this camera, which is potentially harmless, can track a human shape whilst it's moving, and then it can obviously move and rotate to keep that in frame. There's military applications for that are obviously sort of scary as well, when you look at it from and control and privacy and all of these sort of things can potentially come into play with all this. So I think there are risks with it. Like I said to you, I wanted to come down and at least take you guys out for a bit of a drive around, and then we can maybe have a look at an example of something where there's some actual benefit to having some of this artificial intelligence. Sort of a visual sort of cue where you can say, well, okay, artificial intelligence is something to be respected and potentially sort of wary of, but we should also have a look at some of the benefits that may come out of it in the future. And we'll also have a look a bit at the scenery and have a look at the beach while we're here. So we're just about to pull up at the coffee shop. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it. It's just here on the right, but I'll give you guys a bit of a screed. I'll just park the car and we'll go in and have a bit of a chat. Right here as I'm pulling up, there's one of these. I think that's like a electricity sort of switchboard. I'm always wary of parking next to these things. When I was actually working in the government years ago, I got called to two of them actually exploded and were on fire in literally the same month, which is a rarity, but still parking next to them, it could definitely, if it goes off, could definitely destroy a vehicle. Had one go off near a shopping centre and had people trapped in elevators and trying to evacuate them. There was a massive fire sort of coming out in Newtown many years ago. But anyway, let's go inside and have a look at this coffee shop. So just sitting at the back of that coffee shop now, I've already made my order. Got myself a cheeky soft drink, and we'll talk a little bit more. I've just had a chance to look up some. Oh, here we go. G'day, mate. Thank you very much for that. Cheers. All right. Of course, I won't be able to deny you at least a look of what I've ordered. So let's see if we can hold that up. See, it's just like a pita bread. Let's swing this camera around so you can see what's going on. All right, there you go. So that's what I've ordered anyway. So I've got some, apart from the wind that's blowing at a crazy rate of knots, it's good. Sun's out here. Pardon me eating, but I was just going through some of the stuff here online at this conference, and it's got 5 main themes. So I thought I'd at least touch on them and have a bit of a look at, what are some of the concerns that the Europeans are talking about when it comes to AI. And the first thing they're talking about is public interest AI. So there's obviously want to address, and they've got concerns that the powers that be that have control of this AI technology are not going to share it with the rest of the world. So, for instance, there's scientists and doctors that are working on cures for different diseases where artificial intelligence may help them. One of those main topics of this summit is to talk about that and say, look, we want to have access to that. We don't want to be limited because people are holding that intellectual information and that artificial intelligence, because those computers are supercomputers. And again, I think it's a loose thing where people are saying they're thinking for themselves, but they're accessing all this information at such a quick rate of knots that it appears like they're actually thinking for themselves. They're not actually conscious, of course, but because of that, if there's a problem when it comes to something like cancer research or, some sort of biological thing that they want to, assess and have a look at and see what other experiments have been done. Well, these supercomputers, this artificial intelligence can scan all of those things and come up with a synopsis, fraction of a second, So that's the first one, is public interest AI. This is a big one as well. I think this is potentially going to be the main issue going forward, is future of work. But I'll come back to that after I've eaten, because I don't want to be sitting here like a pig going, give us a sec. I think we'll finish the rest of that topic on the AI as we get down. I want to go down to the water and we'll have a bit of a look there. But in the meantime, I'll just show you this coffee shop here. So if anyone's in the neighbourhood of Playa del Rey in LA, you can have a bit of a look at it. We've got a little, it's a Model T Ford truck here, which is pretty cool. I'll just spin this around. You can see in the backyard here, they've got, I suppose it's like a courtyard sort of area where you can eat. You can order your meals here off this catering truck. And I think you can actually hire that for different functions as well. So it's pretty good. But we'll go inside and we'll have a look and see what's what. Hello.
Hello.
What they've made today. I'm just filming a couple of things for hopefully this microphone is picking us up, because it is so windy out here. I was actually going to get a little e-scooter out and ride around and have a look at this AI example. But anyway, I've been able to park pretty close to where I need to be to show you guys what I'm talking about. The benefits of potentially AI on the community. And we're sort of discussing a few different things earlier about that they're talking about in Paris about the medical profession wanting access to AI, wanting access to that technology so that they can try to solve some of the world's diseases and problems, which I think is obviously an admirable thing. And then we touched on a little bit about the potential bad sort of state when it comes to things like military applications, etc. for AI. And we've seen what's happening in these wars in the Middle East and in Ukraine as well, with the advent of all this drone technology, and then they're just putting AI, coupling it to some of these drones and weaponry, and you can see the results are quite devastating. But anyway, so let's just keep cruising along. And I do have a coffee, so that's keeping me half warm. Strong winds at the moment, and they're very cold. But this is definitely sort of one of the main parts of LA. This is called Playa del Rey. So if any of you guys know this area, but you will actually know this, anyone who's played GTA, this is the main canal in that GTA map where all the boats and that come out of. And this is why I wanted to bring you down here, because I wanted to show you the application of some of this AI technology. And it's right next to me now, and I'm just going to flip this camera around so you can see it. So if you can just see that, that's called Ocean Cleanup, the Ocean Cleanup vessel. I'll just zoom in for you. And what that is basically, a loose interpretation, I would admit of AI. So this thing is solar generated. It's got solar panels on the roof. It's autonomous. And what it's doing is as the tides come in and out, it's collecting all the debris and the rubbish from this canal, and it's scooping it up into the middle there. And it's got like a little conveyor belt and filter sort of thing on board. And it then stores all the rubbish in the back of it. So a Dutch firm put this machine together, and they've had it installed here for, I think, maybe 2 years now. I think this ocean cleanup has been operating. So that's an example of where AI potentially, like this thing would be sending back signals when it's full. It's collecting the rubbish by itself 24/7. It doesn't need human interaction, and I can sweep back. You can see those little sort of water, the booms that are there in the water. They're obviously channeling the current and channeling that debris in there. And you can see in the mouth of it there, I can actually see a couple of bits and pieces. Looks like a palm leaf and whatever is floating in amongst it. But as that tide comes in and goes back out, it will pick that debris up and put it back and store it in the netting in the back there of this thing. Sorry, I'll get you a better image. So that's one example. But while we're here, let's have a look at this beautiful beachscape. You can see that it's quite picturesque here, even though it's a bit industrialised, this area. It's not a popular beach. It's not Venice, even Marina del Rey, which I'll just point for you guys. So Marina del Rey is just there, just beyond the other side of this bridge. You'll see there's boats coming in and out of it. In the back there as well is Marina del Rey. There's a sailing boat braving the winds at the moment. There's actually one out there that seems to be doing pretty well too. I'll flip that back around. So yeah, so like I said to you, those applications of AI potentially have some great benefits for the community. This one behind me is an example of it, this ocean cleanup. And I suppose we've just got to kind of keep an eye on it for all those reasons that they're talking about at the summit, which hopefully I've sort of canvassed their main sort of considerations. Look at number 2 on the list of the considerations that the Paris AI conference is concerned about is they're talking about work. What is the impact of AI going to be on work? And I can, as someone who, has worked in different service industries, transport industries, I can see that there's going to be a big change when it comes to that we're going to lose the ability to, a lot of the employment is going to go. They're basically estimating, I think within the next sort of 20 years, that 80% of all transport jobs are going to go to AI. So they're going to be all automated. And whilst you're in LA, they're sort of at the cutting edge of it. Even things like taxi drivers, Uber drivers, they're going to be replaced. There's a company called Waymo that already has autonomous vehicles driving around the city. And I've been in traffic behind them, I've been in front of them, and I'm amazed at how well they actually negotiate and navigate the road. Where they'll pull into an intersection, they'll pause for a second. There's no one driving the car. This thing's got no one in the front of it. It will pause and then make a right-hand turn as soon as it detects that there's a good gap there. Almost better than an actual human driver. Whereas I thought, oh, look, these things will be very clunky. They're not going to be moving around like, they're going to be so slow, and they're going to be delayed because they'll be too safety conscious to even pull out in traffic. But these things pull out and they dart in and out, and it's like, wow, this thing is operating pretty much like a human would. So yeah, definitely some of that AI technology is already here and is already starting to replace humans when it comes to work. And that in itself is, can be a good thing, can be a scary thing, I guess, if that's all you've ever known is that type of work. But I think the future, the argument, I think, from someone like Elon Musk and his sort of mindset is, until we get to the point where we're able to be sort of liberated and free from a lot of these day-to-day mundane tasks, we're not going to advance as a civilization, as a species, and start to look towards, things like space travel, colonization, all of those things, which are obviously, looking at the macro level of things. But I think that is true as well. If you look at the evolution of humanity, it sort of started with, the big change would have been going from hunter-gathering to agriculture. And then later on, the Industrial Revolution going way further. to where we are now, and maybe this is we're on the next sort of cutting edge, big change of humanity, where now AI, robotics, couple that with robotics, etc., is just going to free up the human so that they can sort of mentally focus on something else. And what's the next big issue, the next tackling thing that they need to, confront? So it could be we're talking all of those things that we're talking about that we're worried about, climate change, pollution, etc. These may be things that end up being sort of semi-resolved by the new technologies and new ideas that come out of this AI sort of revolution. But anyway, these are my thoughts for the day. There's a helicopter going overhead. You won't be able to see it. We will talk again soon. And while I've got the chance, once it starts to warm up or whatever, I'll explore LA a little bit more and let you guys have a look at it from a tourist perspective, which is, from a foreigner like I am. And I can give you some tips and places to go, things that I really like about it, a lot of things that are, don't like so much, but it's all an experience. Anyway, I'd really appreciate some comments. So any comments appreciated. If you can, like, subscribe. All right, this is the lazy man's version. It's freezing cold out there, so obviously I'll go out for a walk in a second, but let's look at number 3 for this summit. Innovation and culture is the topic that they're concerned about and they're talking about. I'll get rid of these sunnies for you. So what are they talking about when it comes to innovation and culture? They're talking about all of the stuff when it comes to people that create different art and culture. So probably someone who's making movies, for instance, or even social media content. And how does AI sort of affect that? And how does it protect it is what they're talking about with the copywriting. So they're sort of concerned with those sort of things, trying to discuss within artificial intelligence. Obviously, if you type in I've seen it with some of these video clips now where you can they're obviously just typing in a couple of paragraphs and saying, create me a tune or a song that probably sounds like this particular artist, and then create me a video clip with this sort of theme in the background, these individuals, and it's all AI generated. So you can see that the power of these computers is so amazing that they can just sort of collate all that information together and then come up with something. And I think as well, when you look at something like music is going to be a big thing as well, because it's all sound waves. And AI will be able to decipher and crack the code, pretty much of the 4-beat code that everybody in every song that's popular, including from nursery rhymes up until, the Beatles and beyond, is going to just easily sort of work that out and say, yeah, this is just going to be a number 1 hit straight away because I know humans respond to these sound waves in this order. So definitely there's going to be big changes when it comes to AI and those sort of things with innovation and culture. Let's have a look at number 4. Number 4 is called trust in AI. So I guess they're just talking about, how much do we trust AI to be honest and to be fair. It's obviously it's always going to have a bias because someone has programmed it, regardless of what people are saying, that it's not conscious. AI is artificially doing some things that a human would do, but it is not conscious of what it's doing. So someone has actually had to put a bias in there or a program in there. So I guess that's part of what they're talking about, trust in AI. How do we trust the data and the information that's coming from it? So I suppose that's definitely going to be an issue, and that's going to be potentially an ongoing sort of internal programming conflict and battle between different interested parties that are trying to control this thing. So yeah, I guess that's, we've already seen in different areas. I think that there's something called DeepSeek that the Chinese have just developed. And I believe from what I read recently that the Australian government has just banned this one application because it's Chinese artificial intelligence. It's going to be able to, do things and spread throughout the computer and operating systems of a particular nation. And who knows what sort of Trojans are hidden inside that software and that programming. So again, this is where they talk about trust in AI. Trust as well when it comes to, if we start letting AI govern things like it's already happening now, but from a human perspective where you've got bias in the media, bias in a lot of things. But if we start letting AI do it and it's already pre-programmed and built into that thing, and we're going, yeah, but that's AI, it's doing it itself. No, it's not. Someone's programmed that. So it's obviously a real concern, and that's something that they're going to try to discuss at this summit. We'll get on to the last one now, global governance in AI. So what they're looking at there is who's going to govern this thing? Who's going to say what is correct and what is incorrect? And I think that's where obviously governments still have a role. The way they've gone in the last probably 15 to 20 years has just been an overreach in a lot of areas into people's personal lives. And they've underreached when it's come to, people's sort of liberties and safety. Unfortunately, they've lost their way, a lot of these governments, in my opinion, in that they've foregone their charter. They're now, hopefully, with something like this, this is where the government needs to regulate things like AI and say, well, okay, well, we're going to potentially have some sort of set global standard of what AI should be and how do you track it. But it's one of those things where it's like the internet. You can't really sort of police it and control it, but you still have to have some sort of governing body when it comes to the companies that are producing it, because they're potentially a threat. They've got their own agenda internally. And, I've seen it so many times, especially back home. And obviously America is leading the way, but America is just overrun and infiltrated with these private sector agencies. And obviously, still happening now, where they're basically leading the government by the nose, these private companies. And maybe they've always have. Maybe that's always been the way it is, that these, private people that have got money and power are wielding things behind the scenes. And they always just seem to have a silly front man at the top. But anyway, yeah, so that's the global governance. That's one of the main issues that they're talking about. But I think they're going to have a lot of trouble with that, because if I, correctly sort of read into what the Vice President for the US has just said in his speech today at the summit, the Vice President said in his speech today at the summit was that they don't want to limit the availability of AI and free speech in particular. So again, that gets back to that bias and all that. So their sort of mentality is, with the current government, let's take the reins off some of this in artificial intelligence, let everybody have access to it and see what we can produce with it. So I think that's going to happen anyway. But I think, definitely, there are some strategic players behind the scenes that we've seen, especially the ones that are controlling the public narrative, especially like the last sort of 10 years have just been outrageous corruption and influence. Private companies and some of the media sort of thing. So there's no argument, I think, and now we're seeing that there is a little bit of a shifting of the guard at the moment, because I think there's other opinions are being heard and getting out there. But anyway, that's what we've got for AI. They're the 5 main things for the summit that's going on in Paris. Bit topical. I'd love to hear back any comments that you guys have on, where you've used AI at work and how it sort of interacts with you, True AI, is there true AI? I think anything where it functions and does the role of a human automatically, well, then that's pretty much AI if you look at the Oxford Dictionary version of it. So it's pretty broad. But anyway, if you can, like, subscribe, and really appreciate you guys having a bit of a watch.